The rain-slicked streets of Manhattan blurred into a watercolor smear as Grayson's Bentley skidded to a halt outside the orphanage. His heart slamming against his ribs like a caged bird desperate for flight. "Fuck it," he muttered to the empty leather seat beside him, the words tasting like copper and regret, before shoving open the door into the downpour that soaked him to the bone in seconds. In that instant, as thunder cracked the sky like God's own heartbreak, Grayson Hale, tech mogul, unapologetic queer icon, and man with 6 months left to live, knew he'd just signed his soul away to 4 strangers who would either save him or shatter what little was left. Grayson stumbled up the cracked concrete steps, water streaming from his dark curls, plastering his shirt to the lean muscles of his chest, a body he'd once flaunted in Fire Island beach parties, now a vessel for the AIDS cocktail that kept death at bay just long enough for one last reckless act. The orphanage door creaked open under his fist, revealing Sister Margaret, her habit wilted like yesterday's roses, eyes narrowing at the sodden billionaire who looked more ghost than savior. "Mr. Hale," she said, voice a whip crack of suspicion. "You can't just waltz in here with a checkbook and a death wish. These girls aren't accessories for your midlife crisis." Bra. Jagged sound that echoed off the peeling wallpaper of the entry hall, where faded crayon drawings clung like desperate prayers. "Sister, my midlife crisis ended when the doctor handed me that scan. This is resurrection." She led him down a corridor that smelled of boiled cabbage and unwashed dreams, past rooms where shadows of children flickered like faulty film reels. Grayson's mind raced, replaying the boardroom betrayal that had gutted him worse than the virus. His partner of 15 years, siphoning millions into offshore accounts, whispering sweet nothings to a younger lover while Grayson choked on pills in their Tribeca loft. With his chiseled jaw and promises of forever, had left him hollowed out, a millionaire adrift in a sea of empty penthouses. The first girl waited in the common room, perched on a sagging couch like a feral cat ready to bolt. Violet, 14, with skin like polished mahogany and eyes that burned with the fire of 1,000 unspoken accusations. She'd been bounced through foster homes since her parents' overdose in the Bronx. Her file a litany of aggressive tendencies and refuses to bond. Grayson knelt before her, water dripping from his chin onto the threadbare carpet, ignoring the ache in his knees from the neuropathy creeping up his legs. "Hey, kid," he said, voice soft as the rain outside. "I'm Grayson. And I think we're gonna burn this world down together." She stared, unblinking, then spat out, "You queers think money fixes everything? My last dad bought me a doll and called it love. It broke in the trash the next day." The word queers landed like a slap. But Grayson didn't flinch. He'd heard worse in the Stonewall riots of his youth, back when love meant hiding in alleys, fists clenched against cops with billy clubs. Instead, he pulled a silver key from his pocket, the fob to his Hamptons estate, and pressed it into her palm. "This isn't a doll. It's a kingdom. And you're the queen if you want it." By the end of that stormy afternoon, Grayson had signed the papers for all 4, Lila, the fierce protector, Tessa, 16, a pale wisp of a girl with freckles like scattered stars and a stutter that hid her genius for code, Mira, 12, the artist whose canvases bled with colors no child should know, orphaned by a hate crime in rural Ohio, and little Evie, with braids like twisted vines and a laugh that could crack open the iciest heart, her file stamped unadoptable after her brother's suicide. The judge, a grizzled veteran of family court in Brooklyn, raised an eyebrow at the hearing. Mr. Pelt, you're a walking headline. Gay billionaire. Terminal. Adopting 4 girls? The tabloids will eat you alive. Let 'em, Grayson shot back, his hazel eyes locking on the bench like lasers. I've got nothing left to lose but my legacy. Victor's lawyers were already circling, contesting the adoptions as emotional manipulation to dodge inheritance taxes. But Grayson saw through the vultures. It was jealousy, pure and venomous. That a dying man dared to build a family while Victor chased Botox and boys half his age. The first weeks in the sprawling Upper East Side brownstone were a battlefield of broken glass and budding trust. Grayson woke to nightmares of hospital beeps, his body a traitor that betrayed him with fevers and night sweats. But mornings brought the chaos of girlhood, Lila blasting Kendrick Lamar from the speakers while teaching Evie to throw a punch. Tessa hunched over her laptop in the sunroom, fingers flying like birds escaping a cage. And Mira sketching Grayson's portrait in charcoal, capturing the hollows under his eyes with a tenderness that made his throat tighten. "You're beautiful when you're broken," she whispered one evening, her small hand tracing the lines on his face. He'd pull her into a hug, inhaling the scent of crayons and possibility, and think of his own fractured youth, a farm boy from Iowa, fleeing Bible Belt sermons that branded him abomination, hitchhiking to New York with $47 and a heart full of fire. In the pulsing veins of Greenwich Village, he'd found men like him, tender, alive. But love had always been a double-edged sword. Victor had been the sharpest cut, their romance a whirlwind of rooftop parties and whispered vows under the Brooklyn Bridge, until the diagnosis turned passion to pity. "I can't watch you fade," Victor had said, packing his Louis Vuitton suitcase, eyes averted like Grayson was already a corpse. One crisp autumn night, as leaves skittered like confetti across Central Park, Grayson gathered the girls on the terrace. The city lights twinkled below like a million fireflies trapped in concrete. And he poured champagne, sparkling cider for them, into crystal flutes etched with his company's logo. The empire that had made him billions coding algorithms for Wall Street wolves. "Listen up, my queens," he began, voice gravelly from the cough that rattled his chest. "I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The doc says I've got a ticket punched for the express lane to the other side. But before I go, we're building something unbreakable." Lila leaned forward, her braids swinging like pendulums. "Like what?" "Another app that makes rich assholes richer?" Tessa nodded, her stutter surfacing in a soft "Why us?" Grayson met their eyes, one by one, feeling the weight of his own vulnerability like a stone in his gut. "Because you're like me, outcasts with fire in your veins. Violet. You fight for the forgotten. Tess. You hack the system, Mira. You see beauty in the wreckage, Evie. You remind us joy isn't optional. Together, we're starting the Hale Foundation. Not for tech. For us. 4 queer kids rotting in the cracks. For girls like you who the world writes off. We'll fund safe houses, art programs, coding camps in the hood. Change the goddamn narrative." Evie clapped, her giggle slicing through the chill air. "Like superheroes, with capes and everything?" Mira sketched the skyline furiously, tears smudging the page. But it was Tessa who broke the silence, her voice steady for once. "We'll make it viral. Code a platform where stories go live, unfiltered. No more hiding." That night, as Grayson lay in his king-sized bed, The sheets tangled around his fevered limbs. He heard footsteps. The door creaked, and there stood Alex, his nurse and the one man who'd stayed when Victor fled. Alex Rivera, 30, with olive skin and arms corded from years in the gym, his dark eyes holding a quiet storm of unspoken longing. They'd danced around it for months, professional boundaries blurring into late-night confessions over takeout Thai. "You can't keep playing savior if you're crumbling," Alex murmured, sliding onto the edge of the mattress, his hand brushing Grayson's clammy forehead. Grayson's pulse quickened, a spark in the dying embers. "Who says I'm crumbling? Adopt 4 firecrackers? Watch the world ignite." Alex's laugh was low, his fingers tracing the vein in Grayson's neck. "Stubborn bastard. What if I told you I've been waiting for an excuse to kiss you senseless?" The air thickened, charged like the moments before a blackout. Grayson pulled him down, their lips meeting in a crash of need and forgiveness, salty with tears, sweet with the promise of stolen time. It was messy, the kind of love that didn't demand eternity, just the now. But dawn brought the wolves to the door. Victor's attorney, a shark in Armani, served papers claiming Grayson was mentally incompetent due to his illness, demanding control of the foundation and the girls. "He's manipulating vulnerable children for tax write-offs," the man sneered in the foyer, as Lila eavesdropped from the stairs, fists clenched. Grayson, pale and propped on his cane, faced him down. "Get the hell out, or I'll leak every dirty email you sent Victor about that Cayman account. We're family now." Blood or not, the courtroom battle stretched into winter, snow blanketing the city like a shroud. Grayson testified, voice steady despite the oxygen mask he now toted, recounting his life, the AIDS quilt panel sewn in his name, the lovers lost to the plague, the empire built from nothing but grit and code. "These girls aren't pawns," he said, eyes sweeping the bench. "They're my redemption." Tessa hacked the attorney's emails, legally, through a pro bono firm, and exposed the fraud. Her testimony a stuttered symphony of brilliance that left the judge slack-jawed. "She thought she was protecting us," Tessa said of Grayson, tears streaming. But he showed us we're worth fighting for." Victor appeared one gray afternoon in the Brownstones' library, looking gaunt, his designer coat hanging loose. "Gray. Baby. This is madness. Come back to me. The foundation's a pipe dream." Grayson, hooked to an 4 drip, laughed bitterly. "You left when the pills came out. Now you want the glory? This is bigger than us." Victor's eyes flashed rage, the toxic brew of a love gone sour. "You're dying alone because you're too proud to admit you need me." Grabbing Grayson's arm, bruising the fragile skin, but Alex burst in, wrenching him away with a growl. "Touch him again, and I'll bury you." The betrayal cut deep, reopening scars Grayson thought cauterized. That night, as fever racked him, he confessed to Alex in the dim glow of the bedside lamp. "I loved him once. Thought it was forever." Alex held him, their bodies entwining in a slow, reverent dance, hands mapping the terrain of each other's souls, breaths mingling like prayers. "Forever's a lie we tell ourselves," Alex whispered against his neck. "Them, it's eternal because it's real." They made love then, not with the frenzy of youth, but with the gravity of men who knew time was a thief. Grayson's body sang under Alex's touch, every caress a defiance against the void. Spring bloomed fragile and fierce, but Grayson's decline was merciless. The girls rallied. Lila organized fundraisers in Harlem churches, her speeches a blaze of poetry that drew donors like moths. Myra's murals, giant queer pride flags woven with portraits of foster kids, splashed across Soho walls, going viral on Instagram. Evie baked cookies for the board meetings, her innocence disarming the skeptics, while Tessa launched the app, Hail Haven, a global network connecting LGBTQ+ youth to resources. Stories exploding like fireworks in the digital ether. Yet the high tide of hope crashed against the rocks of reality. One humid June evening, as cicadas hummed outside the open windows, Grayson gathered them in the garden. He was skeletal now, cheekbones sharp as shattered glass, but his eyes burned with that unyielding light. "My queens," he rasped, voice a threadbare whisper. "If I go first, and I will, promise me you'll keep the fire lit." "Not for me. For every kid like us, hiding in the shadows." They wept. A chorus of broken hearts, piling onto him in a tangle of limbs and promises. Alex stood sentinel, his hand on Grayson's shoulder, a silent vow etched in the lines of his face. That night, under a canopy of stars indifferent to human frailty, Grayson slipped away, peaceful, with Alex's name on his lips and the girls' laughter echoing in his dreams. The funeral was a spectacle, rainbow flags lining Fifth Avenue, celebrities and activists spilling from St. Patrick's Cathedral, but the real requiem played in the brownstone that night. Victor slunk in uninvited, reeking of bourbon and desperation, clutching a will he'd forged, claiming the fortune, the foundation, everything. "He was mine first," he slurred, waving the paper like a white flag of surrender. Lila snatched it, her eyes narrowing to slits. "Yours? You bled him dry." Tessa's fingers flew across her phone, alerting the lawyers, while Mira sketched Victor's face in quick, vicious strokes, ugly, exposed. Evie, tiny and trembling, stepped forward. "Uncle Gray said family fights dirty if it means winning." In a move that stunned the room, she hurled her glass of lemonade at him, the sticky arc catching him square in the chest. Chaos erupted. Victor lunged, but Alex tackled him, pinning him until the cops arrived, cuffs clicking like karmic punctuation. It was betrayal's final act. But the girl's next move? It rewrote the stars. In the sweltering haze of a New York summer, the Hale Foundation offices buzzed like a hive on the brink of revolution. The brownstone had been repurposed, once a mausoleum of Grayson's solitude, now a war room of clipboards, laptops, and half-eaten pizza boxes. Violet, now the de facto CEO at 15, paced the Persian rugs, her locks tied back with a bandana stained by marker ink from strategy sessions. "We can't just sue Victor's ass, we gotta eclipse him," she declared, slamming a fist on the oak table that Grayson had once used for midnight coding marathons. The room nodded. Tessa, glasses perpetually fogged from her triple espresso habit, Mira sketching logos on napkins, and Evie, cross-legged on the floor, braiding friendship bracelets from rainbow thread. Alex lingered in the doorway, his broad frame a quiet anchor, nursing a coffee that had gone cold. Grayson's death had hollowed him out, leaving a man who moved through days like a shadow puppet, strings cut but still twitching. He'd inherited nothing but memories and a promise to love the girls as fiercely as he had loved their father. Grayson would have wanted Grace, he said softly. But Lila shot him a look that could curdle milk. Grace is for saints, Alex. We're sinners with a superpower. The scandal broke at dawn, courtesy of Tessa's algorithmic sorcery. Hail Haven had burrowed into the feeds like a digital mole, user stories pouring in. A trans teen in Texas saved from conversion therapy by a hotline tip, a black queer kid in Atlanta finding community through virtual art circles. But Tessa had woven in a trapdoor, a blockchain ledger tracking every donation, every board decision, transparent as glass. When Victor's forged will leaked, thanks to an anonymous whistleblower who smelled suspiciously like Lila's burner phone, the app lit up. Users mobilized, petitions surging, hashtags trending, Grayson's girls' queer legacy lives. Victor's counterattack was swift, slimy. From his eyrie in Miami, he went on a podcast circuit, spinning tales of a manipulated lover, deranged deathbed wish. Grayson was brilliant, but the disease. It twisted him, he crooned to a sympathetic host, his Botox-smooth face a mask of faux sorrow. The media lapped it up, Fox News clips splicing Grayson's eulogy with grainy photos of his pride floats, painting him as a tragic figurehead for radical agendas. Lila watched it on the brownstone's flat screen, veins throbbing in her temples. That snake. He doesn't get to rewrite our dad. Ever the quiet storm. Set her sketchpad aside and stood. Then we rewrite it louder. That week, she unveiled the Quilt Project, a digital mosaic of user-submitted portraits, echoing the AIDS memorial quilt that had draped the National Mall in Grayson's youth. Each square, a face, story, stitched with code Tessa embedded for interactivity. It launched at a gala in the Whitney Museum. Donors in tuxes mingling with foster kids in thrift store chic. Alex escorted Lila down the red carpet, his hands steady on her elbow, whispering, "He'd be so damn proud." She squeezed his fingers, the first crack in her armor. Miss him like hell. But beneath the glamour, fissures ran deep. Alex found solace in late-night runs along the Hudson, the river's black mirror reflecting his turmoil. He'd loved Grayson with the ferocity of a man who'd nursed too many through the plague, friends, lovers, brothers in arms. Their final months had been a tapestry of stolen intimacies, lazy Sundays in bed, Grayson's head on his chest, debating quantum ethics over dim sum, fevered nights where Alex bathed him with cool cloths, their eyes locking in a language beyond words. "You're my North Star," Grayson had murmured once, fingers tracing Alex's jaw. But the star was extinguished, and Alex wandered, compass spinning. One rain-lashed evening, after a donor meeting devolved into budget bickering, Alex retreated to the rooftop garden Grayson had planted, roses and lavender tangled with wild mint, a queer Eden in concrete. He sank onto the wrought iron bench, head in hands, when footsteps pattered up. Ivy, in her unicorn pajamas, climbed into his lap without a word, her small body fitting against his like a puzzle piece. "You cry when you think we're asleep," she said matter-of-factly, wiping his cheek with her sleeve. "Uncle Gray did too. Sometimes." Said it was okay to leak a little. Alex's throat closed, tears hot and unbidden. He was the brave one. "Kiddo." Evie tilted her head, braids swinging. "He said you were the anchor." The one who holds when the storm hits. She pulled a crumpled note from her pocket, Grayson's handwriting. Loopy and faded. Alex? If I go. Love them fierce. And yourself. You're the heart I couldn't give away. Alex clutched it, chest heaving, as Evie hugged him tight. In that moment, grief transmuted, not to peace, but to purpose. He was family, blood be damned. The High Court ruling came on a Friday the 13th, fitting for the farce. Judge Harlan, a silver-haired liberal with a rainbow pin on his robe, dismantled Victor's claims in a 47-page opinion that read like a love letter to resilience. Mr. Hales will stands, he intoned, gavel cracking like thunder. The foundation is his legacy, not a loophole. Cheers erupted in the gallery, activists. The girls' school friends who'd formed a cheer squad. Victor, slinking out the side door, caught Alex's eye for a split second. Regret flickered there, raw and human. But Alex turned away, arm around Tessa, who beamed through happy tears. Emboldened, the girls escalated. Lila spearheaded Operation Echo, partnering with indigenous queer orgs in the Dakotas, building tiny homes for two-spirited youth displaced by pipelines. Grayson hated borders, she told a CNN reporter, her voice steel-wrapped silk. Ours or anyone else's. Myra's art exploded globally, murals in Berlin, Toronto, Sydney, each one a portal to stories like hers, the Ohio farm where her dads were beaten to death for holding hands at a county fair. It's not tragedy porn, she explained in a TEDx talk, her voice steady at 13. It's proof we survive. Tessa's app hit 10 million users. Algorithms democratizing aid, AI chatbots in 50 languages, flagging crisis signals with 92% accuracy. But success bred shadows. Trolls dox them. Death threats flooding inboxes, slurs carved into the brownstone stoop. One night, Evie woke screaming from a nightmare, convinced the bad men were coming. Alex held her, rocking in the nursery Grayson had painted with glow-in-the-dark constellations. They can't touch us here, he soothed. But doubt not. Was he enough? A nurse turned guardian, heart scarred by loss? The turning point came unannounced, in the form of a letter postmarked Iowa. Grayson's estranged sister, a Bible-clutching widow who disowned him at 18 for that lifestyle. Inside, a check for $50,000 for the girls. Tell them their uncle was wrong about forgiveness, and a photo of young Grayson, gap-toothed and grinning on a hay bale. Lila read it aloud, voice cracking. He kept this? After everything? They burned sage in the garden that night. A ritual Mira learned from a Navajo elder, releasing old wounds into the smoke. Family's not who you're born to, Alex said. Throw tight. It's who you choose. As fall leaves turned the park to fire, Alex found himself at a crossroads. A job offer from Johns Hopkins, head of infectious disease research. A chance to fight the virus that stole Grayson. Tempting. A fresh start. But the girls? They were his gravity now. During a foundation retreat in the Catskills, bonfire crackling under a quilt of stars, Lila pulled him aside. Don't go. We need our anchor. Tessa nodded. Mira sketched his portrait by firelight, strong lines, unyielding. Evie slipped a bracelet onto his wrist, family forever. He stayed. And in the quiet hours, when the brownstone slept, Alex visited Grayson's study, tracing the desk's grain where fingers once danced over keys. He realized, wasn't a finite resource, it multiplied, fractal and fierce. Grayson's spirit lingered in the laughter echoing down halls, in the code humming on servers, in the way Lila now called him Dad without flinching. But the world demanded more. Victor's final gambit arrived via courier, a settlement offer, laced with NDA strings. End this circus, the letter read, or I go public with the dirt. Dirt? Alex's blood boiled, Victor's infidelity, the embezzlement Tessa had uncovered but held back for mercy. The girls convened in the kitchen at midnight, flour-dusted from Evie's cookie marathon. We expose him, Lila urged. Full blast. Mira hesitated. What if it hurts Grayson's memory? Tessa calculated odds on her laptop, 70% backlash. But 90% growth for the foundation. Evie, wise beyond her bows, piped up, Uncle Gray said truth is the best revenge. Make it hurt so good. They leaked it strategically, not a bomb, but a scalpel. Hale Haven dropped an episode series, Shadows of Betrayal, anonymized testimonies from Grayson's inner circle. Victor's face blurred but unmistakable in context. Views skyrocketed, donors doubled. Victor vanished to Europe, whispers of rehab and ruin trailing him like smoke. Winter solstice brought the gala's apex, the United Nations spotlight, where Lila, poised in a gown Mira designed, unveiled the Global Hale Accord, a treaty framework for queer youth protections, signed by 47 nations. Cameras flashed as she spoke. This isn't about one man's money. It's about 4 girls who refused to fade. Alex watched from the wings, pride swelling like a tide, his hand finding Tessa's. He changed us, she whispered. Now we change everything. Yet in the afterglow, solitude crept in. Alex wandered the empty brownstone on New Year's Eve, champagne flute in hand, toasting ghosts. The door buzzed, unexpected, electric. There stood Marcus, Grayson's old college flame, Silver Fox handsome with a duffel slung over his shoulder. Heard about the accord. Figured it was time to stop running. Marcus, the one who'd introduced Grayson to coding in a dorm room haze of weed and wonder, eyes crinkling with that same boyish spark. They talked till dawn, words tumbling like dominoes, regrets, the ache of paths not taken. Marcus's hand brushed Alex's. Tentative. Alive. Grayson always said you were the real deal. The kiss was tentative, then torrent, salty with shared sorrow, sweet with second chances. Not a replacement, but a bridge from lost to the vast, uncharted country of living on. Spring 2026 unfurled like a banner of defiance. Cherry blossoms dusting the brownstone's fire escape in pink rebellion. The Hale Foundation had metastasized into a movement, safe houses sprouting in Detroit's Rust Belt, coding academies in LA's barrios, art collectives in Chicago's South Side. Violet, 16 and towering in heels she swore were power armor, keynote at South by Southwest. Her TED-style talk, From Orphans to Architects, going viral with 50 million views. We didn't ask for a dying dad's dream, she quipped. Voice a velvet blade. But damn if we won't make it immortal. The crowd roared, Alex? In the front row. Wiped discreet eyes. Evie's hand in his. But expansion bred beasts. Funding droughts hit like gut punches, corporate sponsors balking at the political edge. Governments in Eastern Europe stonewalling visas for outreach teams. Tessa, now a freshman at MIT on full ride. Remote hacked solutions from her dorm. But burnout shadowed her screens. Dark circles blooming like bruises. It's like Grayson's code, she confessed to Alex over FaceTime. Stutter flaring under stress. Beautiful. But buggy. One crash. And it all unravels. Thriving at Pratt Institute? Channeled the chaos into a solo exhibit. Fractured legacies, installations of shattered mirrors reflecting queer icons, Grayson Central. His image pieced from user-submitted shards. Critics hailed it, trolls vandalized the gallery. TV. 12 and precocious. Started a podcast, Little Fires, interviewing Foster alums. Her giggle disarming the heaviest tales. Alex navigated the maelstrom. His role evolving from guardian to co-chair. Biceps straining under flannel shirts rolled to elbows. A silver wedding band glinting on his finger. No. Not wedding. But the commitment ring Marcus had slipped on during a rainy hike in the Berkshires. Their romance was a slow burn. Marcus? A tenured prof in queer studies at Columbia? Brought intellectual fire, debates over Foucault till 2 a.m. Bodies entwining in the guest room turned master suite. You're the plot twist I didn't see coming, Marcus murmured one morning, tracing Alex's collarbone scars from a rough ER shift. But doubt lingered. Was this love? Or grief's elegant disguise? Marcus sensed it, pulling him close. Grayson's ghost isn't haunting us, he's cheering. The real fracture came from within. A betrayal sharper than Victor's blade. Enter Jordan, the Foundation's new CFO, a 29-year-old wunderkind with a Wharton pedigree and eyes like polished obsidian. Hired for his fresh vision, Jordan charmed board meetings with spreadsheets that promised scalability. But whispers followed, late nights at the office. Expense reports fuzzy as fog. Lila clocked it first, spotting him flirting with a donor's aide in the coat room. Hand lingering too long. Snake in the grass, she muttered to Alex, who dismissed it, exhaustion blurring his instincts. It escalated at the annual summit in San Francisco. Pride Month's fever pitch. Jordan pitched Hail Horizons, a for-profit arm, licensing the app to big tech for youth wellness modules. Billions dangled. But the fine print? Data mining user stories. Anonymized in name only. Tessa, visiting for the keynote, sniffed the code during a demo. Backdoors everywhere, she hissed, pulling Alex aside in the hotel lobby. Fog rolling off the bay like suspicion. He's selling our souls. Confrontation brewed in a waterfront suite. City lights fracturing through rain-streaked glass. Jordan lounged on the chaise, martini in hand, smirking at the accusation. Its evolution, darlings. Grayson's idealism was cute, but unsustainable. Think of the reach. Lila exploded. Reach? You're pimping out kids' trauma. Mira hurled a prototype phone at his feet. Shards skittering like broken trust. Ivy. Uninvited but fierce. Stomped in with room service, tray of cupcakes laced with wasabi. For traitors, she declared, shoving one under his nose. Alex stepped forward. Voice low thunder. You're fired. Effective now. Jordan's mask cracked, charm curdling to contempt. Ooh, felt. Grayson pitted you? Alex. Hired a nurse to play house. And you? He wheeled on the girls. Ungrateful brats. Lapping up his guilt money. The room froze. Air thick as betrayal's aftertaste. Marks. who'd flown in for support, grabbed Jordan's arm, twisting just enough to elicit a yelp. "Oh." Or "I call security and the feds on those offshore wires." Jordan slunk away, but the venom lingered. Leaked memos surfaced online, Jordan's emails, pitching the data grab to venture capitalists, branding the foundation a goldmine of vulnerability porn. The backlash was biblical: cancellations, protests outside the summit venue, headlines screaming "Hail heist, insider sabotage." Lila barricaded in her hotel room, punching pillows till knuckles bled. "We were so close. Now it's all tainted." Tessa coded firewalls through the night, her stutter a Morse code of anxiety. Mira painted over her mirrors, blacking out faces in rage. Evie curled in Alex's lap during the flight home, whispering, "Did we fail him?" The crisis catalyzed clarity. Back in the brownstone, they held an emergency family forge, a ritual born of Grayson's impromptu pizza councils. Around the kitchen island, flour for dough symbolizing resilience, they brainstormed. "No more outsiders calling shots," Lila decreed. "We own the code, the art, the heart." Tessa open-sourced Hail Haven, turning it into a co-op, users voting on features, data locked in user-controlled vaults. Mira launched mirror-mending workshops, teaching trauma art in community centers, turning betrayal's shards into mosaics of strength. Evie suggested truth bombs, anonymous tip lines for internal whistleblowing. Her innocence weaponized. Alex and Marcus anchored the rebuild, their partnership deepening in the forge's heat. One dusk, after a donor call, Marcus found Alex in the garden, pruning Grayson's roses with surgical precision. "You're bleeding," Marcus said, bandaging a thorn prick, his touch lingering. "Not just the hand," Alex exhaled. "The dam cracking." "Jordan's right about one thing: I was the help. What if I'm just holding space till you all outgrow me?" Marcus cupped his face, thumbs brushing stubble. "Space? You're the center." Grayson saw it, I see it. Love isn't pity, Alex. It's this messy, rooted, alive. They made love under the arbor that night, petals drifting like confetti, bodies sinking in a rhythm of renewal. Marcus's hands, scholar's fingers calloused from books, mapped Alex's form with reverence, kisses trailing spine, whispers of poetry in Spanish. It was cathartic, a shedding, grief's weight lifting, replaced by the gravity of now. "Te quiero," Marcus breathed, and Alex, for the first time, believed in tomorrows. The Foundation's Phoenix Rise peaked at the Global Youth Summit in Geneva, fall's golden light gilding the lake. Violet, in a suit tailored from Myra's recycled fabrics, presented the Accord's expansion, ratified by 100 countries, funding $500 million for queer sanctuaries worldwide. "Betrayal taught us vigilance," she said, voice echoing in the hall. "But love? That's our revolution." Tessa demoed the fortified app. Glitches banished. Mira unveiled a massive installation, Jordan's shadow woven into the quilt as a cautionary thread. Evie emceed the youth panel, her podcast clips playing on loop, drawing tears from delegates. Back home, the brownstone thrummed with victory feasts, takeout from every girl's favorite spot, laughter drowning out old ghosts. But quiet moments revealed growth's tender underbelly. Violet, confiding over late-night tea, admitted crushes on a classmate, Her first steps into love's labyrinth. Scary as hell. Alex hugged her. Means you're alive. Own it. Tessa aced her midterms. Stutter easing in therapy sessions Alex funded. Mira sold her first commission to a museum. Proceeds seeding a scholarship. Ivy. Ever the spark. Organized a block party, rainbow streamers. Drag queens reading stories. Neighbors toasting the Hail Hooligans. Yet the deepest shift stirred in Alex. On Grayson's would-be 53rd birthday, they scattered his ashes in Central Park, winds carrying him toward the reservoir. A final code upload. Alex stood with Marcus's arm around his waist. Girls flanking like sentinels. He'd hate the sap, Alex chuckled. But tears fell free. Marcus kissed his temple. Or love it. Because it's us. That night, Hail Haven hit 100 million users, a milestone marked by a global light-up, buildings from Tokyo to Toronto glowing in pride colors. Stories flooded in. A kid in rural Kenya finding family, a non-binary artist in Mumbai breaking silence. The girl's next move? Not conquest, but communion, a decentralized web of havens, each node a beating heart. In the brownstone's glow, Alex raised a glass. To Grayson. To us. The toast echoed. A vow etched in stars. 2 years blurred into a tapestry of triumphs and quiet thunderclaps. The Hale Foundation no longer a startup but a sovereign entity, headquartered in the revitalized brownstone. Satellites pulsing in 200 cities. 18 and en route to Yale Law. Helmed international ops from a corner office overlooking the park. Her locks crowned with activist laurels. We're not fixing the world, she'd say in board calls. Voice honed to diamond edge. We're arming it. Tessa. Mit Prodigy. Engineered echo nets, AI guardians predicting foster system failures. Rerouting kids before cracks swallowed them. Myra's galleries spanned continents. Her Legacy Lens series, photographic diptychs pairing pre- and post-foundation lives, winning a MacArthur Grant. TV. 14 and a viral sensation. Penned a YA novel, Four Queens and a King. Proceeds funding literacy drives in juvenile halls. Alex and Marcus's union flowered into domestic poetry, mornings of espresso and crosswords. Evenings debating policy over Marcus's paella. Nights where love unfolded like a well-worn map, familiar paths. New contours. They'd married in a backyard ceremony last summer. Evie officiating with vows cribbed from rom-coms. Lila strumming guitar. You too, she teased. Are proof queer love ages like fine whiskey, better with time. But beneath the bliss, Alex carried a phantom ache, Grayson's laugh in empty rooms, the scent of his cologne on old sweaters. Marcus understood. Their pillow talks a bomb. He's in the Foundation's code. In every life we touch, the precipice loomed in late 2028. A perfect storm of hubris and heart. The U.S. Midterms had birthed a conservative surge, rollback threats to adoption rights. Queer education bans snaking through state houses. Victor resurfaced? Rehabilitated into a philanthropist podcaster, his show peddling revisionist drivel, Grayson's Folly, How Woke Wealth Wrecks Families. Invites poured in from right-wing circuits. His narrative a siren call to donors wavering in the chill wind. To stung. But the girls saw opportunity in the venom. Let him talk, Lila strategized over Thanksgiving turkey. Carving with surgical flair. We'll drown him in data. Tessa mined archives. surfacing Victor's embezzlement trial transcripts, sealed. But not to her. Mira conceptualized echo chamber, immersive VR exhibits plopping viewers into foster nightmares. Then sanctuary dreams. TV. Voice deepening but spirit unchanged. Rally Gen Z via TikTok duets. Betrayers gonna betray. But queens? We slay. The counteroffensive launched at the National Queer Conference in D.C. Winter's bite sharpening the air. Alex keynote. Sue crisp. Words forged in fire. Betrayal isn't the end, it's the forge. Victor took our money, but Grayson gave us power. And power? It builds worlds. The hall thundered, Marcus. In the audience, Maud, I love you. Grounding him. Backstage, Lila unveiled the Truth Ledger, a public blockchain of foundation impacts. 1.2 million kids housed. 500,000 stories amplified. Zero tolerance for insiders like Jordan, whose prison stint for fraud became case study fodder. But the true high wire was Victor's debate challenge, a live Fox forum. Baiting Lila as the angry heir. She accepted, eyes gleaming like a panther's. Prep was brutal, mock grillings in the brownstone parlor. Tessa scripting zingers. Mira styling her armor, a crimson blazer embroidered with quilt motifs. Alex paced. Paternal worry etching lines. He's a viper. One slip. She hugged him fierce. Then I slip better. For Gray. The studio lights blazed like interrogator bulbs. Victor preening in his chair. Veneers flashing. Lila Hale. The prodigy puppet. Tell us, did Grayson's illness cloud his judgment? Or was it just queer delusion? The audience tittered, cameras zoomed. Lila leaned in. Smile lethal. Delusion? That's your brand. While you siphoned his accounts for your boy toys. He built this. She tapped her tablet. Live streaming Hale Haven stats. User testimonials rolling like credits. 1 million lives. What's your ledger look like? Right, bankruptcies and bad takes. Victor flushed. Pivoting to sob stories, I loved him. You're riding coattails. Lila's laugh rang out. Pure alchemy turning poison to gold. You fled when the chemo hit. We stayed, through fevers, forgeries, your fake tears. That's legacy. Cut to commercial on his stammer, post-show. Lila Slays trended. Donations spiking 300%. Victor's show tanked. Sponsors fleeing like rats from a blaze. The victory lap circled back to roots. A pilgrimage to Iowa. Grayson's boyhood farm now a foundation retreat. Clara greeted them warily. Her porch swing creaking under familial weight. Heard about the debate, she said, handing Evie fresh cornbread. Made me proud. Finally, over cider in the barn. Stories spilled, Grayson's hidden diary. Pages of coded crushes on the quarterback. Tears flowed, forgiveness. Hard one. Bloomed. You were his anchor too. In a way, Clara told Alex. Eyes misty. From afar. Homeward. The van hummed with harmony, playlists of Grayson's vinyl rips. Evie belting show tunes off-key. But introspection shadowed joy. Tessa, post-graduation, grappled with a girlfriend's proposal, love's leap terrifying after her parents' abandonment. What if I glitch? She confided to Mira over paint-splattered canvases. Dating a non-binary sculptor? Smiled soft. Then we debugged together. Violet. Single but swiping with swagger. Mentored queer law interns. Channeling fire into justice. TV. Crushing on a debate club boy. Journaled fears in a leather-bound tome Grayson gifted. Alex's epiphany struck during a solo dawn jog. Hudson mist veiling the path. At 45, he was silver at the temples. Body a testament to marathons run, literal and metaphorical. Marcus waited at journey's end. Coffee steaming. You're glowing. Alex pulled him close. River lapping witness. Not glowing. Pull. Them, Grayson's gift. Unwrapped slow. Their kiss deepened. A seal on seasons, lost to legacy. Solitary to symphony. The denouement unfolded on New Year's 2030. Brownstone aglow with lanterns handmade by Myra's apprentices. Hale Foundation's Decade Report, 10 million transformed. A world redrawn in rainbows. The girls, women now, toasted evolutions, Lila's congressional bid. Tessa's startup incubator. Myra's MoMA retrospective. Evie's best-selling sequel. Victor? Footnote. Podcast podunk in obscurity. As snow dusted the sill, Alex slipped away to the study, tracing Grayson's desk. A new photo frame there, the five of them, arms linked at the farm, family forged in fire's kiln. Footsteps, Marcus? Wrapping arms around. To forever? Alex murmured. Marcus nodded. Already here. In the hush. Grayson's echo lingered, not in absence, but abundance. The dying millionaire's whim had birthed a revolution. But his daughter's next move? Veshed eternity. Love. Unbetrayed. Unchanging the world one heart at a time.